It's time for Mornings at 8 with Jonathan Mark on AM 1480 WLEA.
Oh, yes, it is time for Mornings at 8. It is 6 minutes after 8 o'clock on a Thursday morning. Thursday. That's right. Thursday means it's practically Friday. Yay. There we go. So the weekend will be here soon enough. Right. Let's see. Boy, it's chilly out there. It's chilly and windy and all that. It's not really all too cold, but I think the wind makes it seem a little colder. Anyway, so, Brian, you had a story about the seatbelts were not in use in that fatal car crash there.
That's what Sheriff Jim Mallard said.
There have been so many times, when the seatbelt law first came out, I don't remember when it was, but I was against it. I said, wait a minute, pal, I'm in my car, that's my space, and if I don't want to wear a seatbelt, I'm not going to. And then I thought, wait a minute. All the stories I've had over the years where the final line is law enforcement says that the driver was not wearing a seatbelt or the passengers were not wearing a seatbelt. And it's pretty important to wear a seatbelt, man. Maybe you don't like it, but it really does save lives. And it was explained to me by, I believe, a state trooper a long time ago. He says, if you're not wearing a seatbelt, imagine a can and you put a marble in the can and then you shake it. Okay? Graphic and true. So, yeah, it's really important to wear seatbelts. Okay, now also on Brian's News, you had Kirsten Gillibrand on there. She was talking about LIHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. It's a federal program. And she says that she's fighting to get all the funds that New York can get. So it's very important, especially with the cold weather coming. LIHEAP really does come in handy. So I hope that hope New York has a lot of money for it. And also, her presidential campaign never really got up ahead of steam, so she dropped out of the race, I think, a month or two ago, I think. I don't recall. It was relatively recently. But she says during the campaign, she learned a lot, and it was worthwhile.
I really thought we ran a great campaign. I loved meeting voters in the early states. I learned a lot. And the good news is I can apply a lot of that learning to being a great senator for New York. I learned a lot about issues that were very important in some of the early states, and I realized there are big issues in New York, too. So two of them I've started doing roundtables on disabilities, communities with disabilities, individuals with disabilities, as well as the need for much more investment in mental health. So I'm really going to focus on how I can support those two issues more aggressively in the Senate, and that was because I traveled the country and got to listen to a lot of early state advocates who are very well trained to make sure issues are being heard by presidential candidates. So I really loved it. I learned a lot, and I'm just grateful that I get to continue to serve New York.
And meanwhile, she says she'll still continue to try to implement more proposals that she put forth during her campaign.
Yes. So pretty much anything that I rolled out in the presidential campaign, I'm now working on legislation to introduce it in the Senate. So the Family Bill of Rights had a bunch of ideas that we are going to put into legislation. Some already has been, for example, the National Paid Family Leave we already introduced. But we're going to work on baby bundles, and we're going to work on certainly funding for and access for people who need fertility treatments, as well as people who are very low income to get a tax benefit so they can afford to have a child, as well as really tackling, which is already legislation, maternal mortality. So, so we are going to, whatever is still left to be put into legislation, we're going to get that done. So it's fun. And I also am working on legislation on my job training program to guarantee anyone who's underemployed or unemployed job training. We're working on putting that into legislation, as well as our idea about national public service as a way to provide for debt-free college.
Okay, well, there you go. Plus, during one of her campaign stops, it was either in Vermont or New Hampshire, I think, there was a video of her playing beer pong. And I thought that was really cool. Okay, she seems like a really nice person. Of course, being a nice person doesn't make you presidential material, but if a candidate's playing beer pong, I mean, hey, really, you can't go wrong. Okay, there you go, that. And let me see. I have to lead off with this after Kirsten Gillibrand there, because if I don't do it now, I might forget. But I found this on Fox News early this morning. And I'm hoping that it winds up on other news sites, because this is just amazing. We all know that law enforcement and firefighters and paramedics, they will risk their lives trying to save other people, right? That's just, it's in the nature of the job, right? But I cannot think of anything riskier than this, and I hope it's still on the Fox News website. You've got to see this video. It's taken a state trooper in Utah, and it was taken on his dash cam. So he's making a routine traffic stop. Where was this? Anyway, he's in the middle of a routine traffic stop, and he receives a call of a car on railroad tracks, right? So he goes to the scene of this car on railroad. His name is, what is his name? I've got to give you his name. It's very important. What is his name? Ruben Correa. All right? Trooper Correa responds to a report of the car on the railroad tracks. So it turns out that the driver had suffered a medical emergency. And he runs up, it's slightly uphill to these tracks. And his car is pointed toward the scene, so it's all on dash cam there. And this driver suffered a medical emergency, and he drove off the road. And he winds up on the railroad tracks, and he is unconscious. And here comes a train. You can hear the train. You can see the train. Here's the lights. What's I guess a headlight, right? A headlight on a train. Here comes the headlight getting bigger and bigger. And this trooper is frantic. And he's saying, we got to go, we got to go. Here comes the train, here comes the train. Oh, there. Wow. Now, it goes on because it has the actual crash, I think, on there. Right, Brian?
I do have the video. What point the crash, I don't know. But you can see the trooper saving who's ever in the car. And, wow.
Well, here's the deal. This trooper pulls this guy out of the car. And you've got to see this video because within this train is going approximately 50 miles an hour. And with... Wow. So this trooper's pretty frantic, and here comes the train, and it gets closer and closer. He pulls the guy out of the car, it was an SUV. He pulls him out of the SUV. They just clear the tracks, and bang! That train hit the SUV. There wasn't 1, 2, 3 seconds later, the train hits the SUV and totally it demolishes it. But the trooper got the guy out of the car safely. Man, I said, talking about risking your life. I mean, this guy came within just a half a whisker of getting nailed by a train. Wow-wee. Anyway, he says, I looked to my left and was able to observe the train was coming pretty fast, he told a local TV station, somewhere between 50 and 80 miles an hour. He says, at that point, I actually wasn't really thinking. I was just doing my job. And the main concern was getting him out of the car. So Correa said he didn't feel the weight of the situation until he watched the train launch the SUV from the tracks. And that's when I realized, oh, wow, that was a lot closer than I would have liked. That was a lot closer than it would have, I guess, yeah. So there you go, man. I hope that's on a bunch. You've got to see that video. I mean, just seconds. Wow, that's bravery. That's real bravery. Okay, from that we go to this. This is from, let me see, in Pennsylvania. Let me see. Two-time Super Bowl winning wide receiver Torrey Smith tweeted his frustration Saturday with the Pennsylvania Youth Football League that allegedly fined and suspended a coach over a team's big victory. Smith, who retired from the NFL this season, tweeted the Keystone State Youth Football League, based in Philadelphia, was going to suspend the coach for 2 games and fine him $500 because his team won a game 36-zip. Smith said the league disciplines the coach if their team wins by more than 30 points. So Smith writes, tweets, or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, today's story of We Are Building Weak Children. The youth football team in my wife's hometown had a game. They won 36-zip. They don't allow you to win by 31 points without some type of punishment. The head coach is now suspended for 2 games and fined $500. Are you kidding me? He writes. So there you are. He then added, 1, kids need to learn how to deal with failure. Don't want to get smashed? Play better. Life doesn't let up. When it rains, it pours. Another one, he writes, the other kids can't give their all because there is a rule, work hard but not too hard. That's stupid. He also writes, it's hard to find youth coaches as is, but you consider fining a coach $500 an appropriate punishment? And then he writes, if you truly want to have a slaughter rule, simply stop the game. How do you coach or play knowing that you can't score? That is just stupid. Now, the coach was identified as Kyle Williams, according to NBC Philadelphia. He's also Smith's brother-in-law. Williams, who coaches the, Conshohocken Golden Bears, told the station that the league's rules prevent a team from scoring more than 30 points. Less than 2 minutes left, I called a timeout because I wanted to pull the starters off the field, he said. I put the kids in who normally never played. However, a five-year-old player on the team scored toward the end of the game, even though Williams said he ran down the sideline yelling at the child to fall down and not score. But this 5-year-old kid figures, hey, man, I got the ball. I'm going for it. So, anyway, the president of Williams' team told the station that it's possible Williams could face punishment when he goes to a hearing in the coming weeks, and said the league doesn't condone the coach's choice to run the play. So, so you can win, but you can't win by too much, right? And as I said before, let's say regarding the New York Yankees, everybody loves a winner, right? Until the winner wins too much, and then they hate them. I've never figured that out. It's perfectly, as a matter of fact, you want somebody to win. But if they win too much, that's no good. Well, that's not really the way things ought to run. That's crazy. That's why everybody, or a lot of people, hate the Yankees, because they win. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, what else have we here? Oh, yes, yoga. Now, the way I understand yoga is supposed to be quiet and contemplative and meditative, slow-moving. You go within yourself. You get you get this positive energy going, except in Kansas City, Missouri. Because in Kansas City, Missouri, they have another type of yoga. It's called rage yoga. Releases negative energy with alcohol, profanity, and obscene gestures. I'm not making this up. I don't make up any of this stuff. This is from a TV station in Detroit. Why they're writing about Missouri, I don't know. But anyway, an alternative twist to the usually deep breathing meditation and soothing poses of traditional yoga is becoming all the rage in Kansas City. It's called rage yoga. Instructor Amanda Kaufman said she started practicing yoga 7 years ago. 2 years ago, she came across a new technique she said is more her style. A lot of people stay away from yoga because they think, she says, oh, well, I'm not good enough for it. Or what are people going to think about my poses, really? And in here, you can just be yourself. So she says this technique is different. I guess, instead of calming your mind, you're bringing everything out, she said. Instead of just trying to push it out quietly, you're going to push it out, and it's going to be loud. With loud, explicit music as a soundtrack for Monday's first class, participants were encouraged to yell, scream, cuss, and make obscene gestures, all while drinking alcohol. So just letting off the negative energy out, that's the goal, she said. Apparently this strange thing began in Canada. and now it's here. So in other words, they're having a tantrum. So you're not doing yoga. You're just having an adult tantrum with alcohol. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to catch on, but that's what they're doing in Kansas City, Missouri. That's a heck of a way to have yoga. Okay, fine. Well, insurance. Okay, even people who do rage yoga need insurance. Actually, they probably do need insurance, don't they? Well, how about the Ryan agencies? They have offices in Hornell, Jasper, and Wellsville. They're your local independent insurance agency. Independent means they are not beholden to any one company. They have all these companies at their disposal. They are insurance experts. They offer sound, unbiased advice. They really are friendly people. You walk in there and you feel like they're your neighbors. And probably some of them are because they live right here, okay? Also, they have a really good informative website. It's RyanAgency.com. The Ryan Agencies.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Ralph Irvin.
Game 4 of the American League Championship Series was not played on Wednesday due to rain in New York City. It was pushed back to Thursday. Game 5 will also be in New York City. It will take place on Friday. Thursday night, that's tonight, Zach Greinke will get the start for Houston against the Yankees' Masahiro Tanaka. Here's New York manager Aaron Boone.
Masa clearly has the ability to put the ball where he wants, the ability to not make any kind of a moment or start bigger or less than it is, but having that ability to really focus on pitch to pitch. And I think the guys that do that the best give themselves the best chance to be successful. And Masa's clearly demonstrated the ability to do that.
The Angels have hired Joe Maddon as their new manager. He comes after a successful run as the manager of the Chicago Cubs. Maddon had previously spent over 3 decades as a part of the Angels organization.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Netflix signed up more subscribers in its summer quarter, though its 517,000 new U.S. customers is weaker than the 800,000 it expected. It brushed off concerns about new streaming competitors Disney, Apple, and others, saying they don't have the variety, diversity, and quality of new original programming produced by Netflix. It did add 6.7 million new paid subscribers around the world. That's more than expected. Pernod Ricard chairman Alexander Ricard says new tariffs on its exports to the U.S. will have a significant impact and it could be raising prices. The World Trade Organization approved 10% tariffs as punishment for illegal government subsidies to aircraft maker Airbus. The Dow was down 22 yesterday. NASDAQ dropped 24. S&P down almost 6. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
The IRS has the power to take your property, garnish your wages, and even send you to jail for back taxes and unfiled tax returns. Don't wait for the IRS to kick in your door. Call Kick IRS today. At Kick IRS, we protect you from bank levies, wage garnishments, and asset seizures. No matter how much you owe, Kick IRS will resolve your tax debt and kick the IRS out of your life once and for all. Call Kick IRS right now at 866-KICK-IRS. That's 866-KICK-IRS. Or visit us on the web at kickirs.com.
Today at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads and Hornell, New York, you'll find brand new 2019 Nissan Sentra SV models equipped with 16-inch alloy wheels, rear monitor, push-button ignition, and cruise control for just $15,999. Shop Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads or Hornell. Simmons-Rockwell.com.
Rage yoga. I can imagine what that kind of class is like. Okay, fine. This originally appeared in the Mail Online. It's from the UK. This is just sick. British teacher fired after joking to send Jewish students to gas chambers if they didn't finish their homework. The teacher's been fired. A grade school teacher in southern England was fired after she reportedly told her Jewish students she would ship them off to gas chambers if they did not finish their homework. So the unidentified teacher was fired Friday, just a day after she reportedly made the remark to the Newberry's primary school somewhere in England there. The teacher was in class with more than 24 10-year-olds, 11 of whom were Jewish. when she reportedly said, "You better finish off your work quick, or I'll ship you off to the gas chambers." What? So, one of the students in the class purportedly challenged the remark, "Good deal," by the teacher, who said she was joking and apologized. Parents told the Mail Online that she asked the students not to tell anyone about her remark. Well, baby, it's a little late then, isn't it? However, students informed their parents, and it quickly spread to school WhatsApp groups before reaching the administrators at the school. Some parents threatened to withdraw their children unless the teacher was dismissed and probably given a good slap upside the head. The school's board of governors held an emergency meeting, and the teacher was fired the next day. Now, a spokesperson for the school confirmed the incident, telling Mail Online that once they were made aware of the racist comment, they acted immediately. The spokesperson said that the school's governors and leadership team were undertaking a full investigation. All righty. So there you go. She was joking. Okay, I'm sure really, that's really funny. A couple of, was it last week or the previous week? I lose track of time. Had a story about some woman in Florida who scored some methamphetamine at a street buy and thought that she was ripped off. So she called the sheriff's deputies and said, "Hey, would you guys test this? And I just want to be sure I wasn't ripped off." And the deputies said, "Sure, yeah, we'll test it. We'll be right there." Anyway, so here's a guy, again in Florida. What's the matter with Florida? I don't know what it is. Who knows? Anyway, a guy calls 911. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but repeatedly. Authorities say a Florida man repeatedly called 911 to report that his roommate had stolen his marijuana. So he wanted the cops to investigate his roommate and to get his marijuana back. So he keeps calling and calling and calling. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't charged with anything. I think that's harassment or something. But finally, a sheriff's office official called the guy and said, "Will you please stop calling us? Okay, it's your problem. You take care of it." And the guy wasn't charged with anything. Okay, fine. All right, there we go. There are some strange people out there. Okay, that's it for this morning show, and I will see you tomorrow at 8:05. Bye.